If you're looking to expand your range, you're going to want to consider 3 primary components of your voice. Welcome back to Singing Tips with LJDstudios, the space where we take difficult singing concepts and break them down so you can actually understand and implement them for better singing. I'm Laura, and today we are talking about how to expand your range. As always, you guys, before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you haven't already, download my free guide, The 3-Tiered Approach to Becoming a Better Singer, linked in the description. Also, you still have a couple of weeks left to sign up to become a founding member of my membership program, the LJDstudios Singers Toolbox. With that, you get 2 free video feedback mini lessons. So click the link in the description. Make sure you get that. Get your 2 free lessons. And if you decide it's not for you, go ahead and cancel and you won't be charged a dime. Okay, so as I mentioned, there are 3 primary components to understanding how to expand your range. First of all, remember that range expansion is not just going this way. We are also going this way, right? High notes are sexy, but low notes matter too. So we're going to talk about how to move your voice in both directions. But regardless of which direction you're trying to increase your range in, you're going to want to consider your resonance, your airflow, and your acoustic space. Now, all that sounds really fancy, so let's break it down so you can actually understand it. Let's talk about resonance first. Resonance is just where we experience vibration, sound vibration in the body. Sometimes that's literal, sometimes that's metaphorical. The terms chest voice and head voice come from where we experience resonance. If you want to know more about registers, check out my video, Demystifying Vocal Registers. But suffice it to say, right, when you're singing lower notes, oftentimes we experience the resonance here. And as the voice goes higher, eventually it's going to start to move up into your face and even into your head. So if you're having difficulty moving your voice up higher, consider, am I stuck with my resonance in my chest? Likewise, if you're trying to move your voice down lower, consider, am I stuck with my resonance in my head, right? So if I was stuck in my chest, it might sound like this. But if I let it move to my head, then I keep going, right? And all I am doing is with my brain, I'm thinking about the sound is here, the sound is here, the sound is here, right? Where you put your brain in your body really does matter. So even though we are using metaphor for the way we experience sound, if you can really imagine like that I feel the sound here, that I feel the sound here, sometimes that can help your body do what it needs to do in order to make the adjustments necessary to move your voice up or to move it down. Similarly, if you're trying to go lower, right, and it sounds like this, ooh, and it kind of gets really weak and breathy, in all likelihood, it's because you're holding the resonance up here and it needs to move to your chest. More like this, ooh. Now you heard a big break in my voice. You can work out how to smooth that out later. Right now, we're just trying to get the notes, right? So let the resonance drop. Let it move. Let your voice break if it needs to break in order to get the resonance to shift. But as you go up, the resonance needs to move up your body. And as you go lower, the resonance needs to move down your body. Your resonance also needs to get more narrow as you go up and wider as you go down. And that's a little bit counterintuitive. We think of high notes as big. And so sometimes we aim them big in our brains, right? Right? And there's no focus to that sound, right? You could imagine if that sound were light, it's like going every which direction. Right? As you go higher, if we kind of stick with this analogy of thinking about your voice being like light so that you can see it, your voice needs to go from being this big flashlight bulb that goes in every which direction toward a laser beam as you get higher. And we're going to use a gesture to help reinforce this idea as you go higher. Because again, this is largely metaphor, but once you felt it, you're like, oh, it really does get smaller. You can feel how the resonance narrows as you get higher. But in the meantime, you have to kind of help your body along to figure it out. So you're going to imagine it getting smaller, and you're going to take your hands and bring them to a point as you go up. So instead of going up like this, and making it bigger, and you can hear my voice fall apart, I'm going to make it narrow. I'm going to go, Now my mouth is huge, but I can feel that super high pitch is like a little teeny tiny pinpoint at the top of my head. So the resonance moved up to my head and it came to a point, okay? So you can even do it like this, right? I'm letting the resonance move up my body and I'm bringing it to a point. The gesture really, really helps. Sometimes it's like magic. Do the gesture, you guys. Same thing as you come down, right? If you're bottoming out, Do like this with your hand. Hands, plural. Imagine the resonance widening so that you go, ooh. Actually, don't recommend an ooh vowel. An ah vowel would be better. So I'm gonna change it to an ah as I get lower. Ooh, ah. Okay, the resonance is getting wider. I'm imagining it move down my body and getting wider as I come to those lower pitches. Okay, when you go up, it gets narrow. When you go down, it gets wider. Also, if you guys keep seeing me look off to the side, it's because I'm watching the baby cam to make sure my 6-month-old Wesley has not woken up from his nap. This is real life. That is what I am doing when I'm not recording videos or teaching voice lessons. I am a mom and I'm just trying to make sure he's not screaming his face off. So thanks for bearing with me. Okay, lastly, the way you move from low to high matters. So when I move to a higher pitch, yes, the resonance needs to move up. Yes, the resonance needs to narrow. And then the way I'm going to get there is I'm going to take the scenic route. I'm going to go back, up, and over. So I'm not going this way to get to my high note. I'm actually going this way. This would actually be the best gesture to do, okay? If I try to go this way, it's going to sound like this. Ah, ah, right? Versus ah, ah, where I really feel the sound come behind my ears, up over the top of my head, and down right into the top of my face. So give yourself some kind of action to reinforce to your body that that's the direction that you want the sound to move. And I'm sorry, none of it really makes that much sense until you felt it. But if you do the gesture and you really imagine that that's the way the sound is moving, in all likelihood, you will probably experience that and then it will make a lot more sense. As you go lower, right, you're going to start here and it's going to come back and down. Okay, so as you move from low to high, the way you're going to do that is to go back behind your ear, up to the top of your head, and then down rather than straight to it. Okay, so those are the 3 elements of your resonance that you want to consider, right? You want to consider that the resonance needs to move up and it needs to move down. It needs to narrow and it needs to widen. And the way you're going to move from low to high is behind your ears, up to the top of your head and down, or from the top of your head, back behind your ears and down to your chest. Okay? All right, next up, you need to consider your airflow. Now, I've done tons of videos on airflow because this is like one of the most important things, so I'm going to keep it really simple here. High notes need faster air. Low notes need slower air. If you're trying to do faster air, think blow out a candle. Right? If you're trying to do slower air, think more of a sigh. Okay? So the higher you go, the faster your air needs to be. I really encourage you to check out my video on understanding airflow because that's really, really key for expanding your range. So keeping it simple here, faster air for high notes, slower air for low notes. Okay, and then the last thing that I'm going to talk about here is your acoustic space. Your acoustic space refers to your mouth and to your throat. As you go higher, your acoustic space needs to get bigger. So yes, your resonance needs to get smaller, but your acoustic space needs to get bigger. So what does that mean? Open your mouth. That's easy. It's like one of the easiest things to do. It's one of the first things I do with people in a lesson is I get them to open their mouths more as they go higher and think tall, not just wide. Right? It's not just this. I see that all the time. Go tall and then wide. Okay? So you open your mouth as you go higher. Should make those high notes a little bit easier. This is a little bit maybe unexpected, but drop your jaw as you go lower. And what that's going to do is actually going to narrow the acoustic space in the back, which is going to help give you a little bit of twang. So oftentimes when we go lower, we get this sound of right? And yeah, my mouth is open, but it's not like, I'm more like yanking my jaw down, right? Versus this, where it's just kind of a drop jaw, really relaxed. I think like fell asleep on an airplane, like that versus that. They feel really different. I don't know how different they look, but one is like I'm muscularly pulling the jaw down, and one is I'm just surrendering it to gravity. Okay, and then what that's gonna actually narrow the space in the back, which is gonna give you more twang. See my video on twang versus nasality if you'd like to understand twang. But that's gonna give you a little bit more potency in the sound of versus okay. So drop your jaw to help access better twang for lower pitches. Okay, your throat is also a part of your acoustic space. And what that really means is like the position of your larynx. When you yawn, your larynx goes down. When you swallow, your larynx goes up. I also did a video on what your larynx is and what it's supposed to be doing. So check that out, guys. I've done so many videos. I need ideas. Please comment. Give me some ideas. But as we go higher, yes, the larynx does actually kind of need to move up, but for most of us, it moves up too far. So it's actually kind of helpful to think about a little bit of a yawn as you go higher to just keep the larynx relaxed and from yanking up too far. So as you go up, yawn a little. That little bit of a yawn helps. As you go down, opposite. You don't want any feeling of yawn. So when we go lower, sometimes we really push down on the larynx, so like, and that really does feel like a yawn. Remove that, right? So just kind of like talk normally. Say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Feel how there's no feeling of a yawn. None of that kind of like stretch, pull, whatever that you might use to describe a yawn. Keep that as you go lower. To help counter this. Okay? That's going to help keep your larynx in a little bit more neutral position. All right, you guys, so those are my top tips for expanding your range in both directions. Understand your resonance, understand your airflow, understand what your larynx is doing. I've done videos on all of these things, so please do check them out if you want to get more into the weeds of them. But those are my tips for getting your voice to go higher and getting your voice to go lower. Thanks for being here and happy singing.